The first unofficial long weekend of the summer. Travel expert Claire Newell joins us from Vancouver this morning. Claire, good morning to you. I want to start with Air Canada because they were recently blaming the end of a so-called revenge travel. You remember that with the COVID, and once we could begin traveling once again, everybody was revenge traveling. Well, they're blaming that when it comes to a decline in their profits. So what does this long weekend look like when it comes to travel, and are you expecting a busy summer travel season overall, Claire?
Well, good morning, guys. And this weekend is going to be busy, like every long weekend in Canada and holiday. I always say pack your patience when you're crossing the border or heading to the airport. To address Air Canada's mention that declining revenge travel is affecting their profits, there's no question that we're seeing a decrease in revenge travel. But I wanted to share a couple of stats with you because people are still really traveling. And one of them came out with by the European Tourism Commission. They looked at Q1 of 2024, and travel is really up. But what they're forecasting is a spend in Europe of over 743 billion euros, which is 14% more than last year. And last year was a busy European season. The other one was a stat by the World Travel and Tourism Commission that came out, and they're forecasting that travel is going to break all sorts of records in 2024. In fact, they looked at 185 countries, and they're anticipating that 77% of those countries will break national tourism records this year.
Wow. Wow. Impressive. Okay. For those who are traveling, you say make sure to use technology to help you speed through the lineups.
Yeah, no question. Technology is your friend when you're traveling these days. The first thing I always tell people is to make sure that when they're traveling outside of Canada, that they go to travel.gc.ca just to make sure they've got the proper entry and exit requirements, and also register their trip if they're going. Make sure that you book your seats online. And what many people, especially families, don't realize that there are new rules that are out for most North American airlines so that you can actually select your seats without any cost to make sure that your family sits together. So take advantage of that. If you're traveling outside of Canada, I'm also recommending that you go to your airport's website and book your security appointment. You can do this up to 72 hours before your departure out of Canada, and you get a QR code. And instead of the regular lineup, which can be really long, especially over long weekends, you get a lineup it's right beside Nexus and Global Entry. You can do the same on the way back using the ArriveCan app about 72 hours or up to 72 hours before your flight returns to Canada. And again, a QR code that gets you in the faster lineup, even if you don't have a Nexus or Global Entry, and avoids that long one.
Oh, okay. Some good tips there. Meantime, according to a brand new survey, far and away, Claire, the biggest mistakes travelers make is overpacking.
Yeah, this one actually surprised me. And I'm going to read the title to you because this was based on a survey called the Winter Global Rescue Traveler Sentiment and Safety Survey. Very long. But 35% of people that were surveyed said that overpacking is the #1 mistake they make. And only 12%, which was the next on the list, was saying that they were flying with connections rather than taking a nonstop. I totally agree with that one. 9% of people said that they made overly ambitious itineraries. And then some of the other things that were on the list, but quite far down, forgetting an international plug adapter, forgetting medical or travel insurance, not packing their prescriptions, and not changing their phone data plan.
I am so guilty of the overpacking. Even I was in LA, of course, this past weekend. I was basically there for a day, and I probably brought enough clothes for 4 days. I don't know why. Why do we do that?
Really?
Yeah.
You did that?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm so surprised. I'm so surprised. But yeah, you end up paying for it. Doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but it is, because you end up paying when you overpack, when it's too heavy. Mm-hmm. Okay, important update for those traveling with dogs. In an effort to prevent rabies, Claire, the U.S. has recently tightened the rules when it comes to entering the country with your dog.
Yeah, and I travel with my little 8-pound Chihuahua all the time. And so this one is something that I'm taking note of. But if you do travel with your dog to the U.S., as of August 1st, there are some changes. And I normally just have a rabies document They have to have, of course, their updated rabies shots, but there's a lot more that you have to take into effect now. So some of the things on that list that you have to do, the dog, of course, has to appear healthy when they arrive, but also no young puppies, 6 months or older, microchipped. Now, a lot of dogs only have tattoos in their ear. That's a stickler. They're not allowing that. You have to have a microchip dog. And there's a new form that has to be filled out called the CDC dog import form. And you can get that on the CDC website. It has to be done between 2 and 10 days before your arrival into the US. And this is for all dogs, including service dogs, even dogs that were born in the US and are returning. So just keep that in mind. The deadline for that, August the 1st.
All right. And finally, Claire, there's still concern among some travelers when it comes to Boeing. Just wondering, before we let you go, are there any safety updates? What's the latest when it comes to the embattled airline maker?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about this, and over the last couple of weeks, there's not been anything notable. There's still ongoing investigations with 2 models of the Boeing aircraft, the 737, certain models in that line, and the 787. Nothing breaking, but I did want to share a stat with people that came out by IATA, the International Association of Transport Association, and as of the end of February, they looked at 2023, and I hope this gives people some peace of mind. 2023 was the safest year in a decade for travel. The accident rate was 1 in every 1.26 million flights. So very, very low. It is a very safe mode. And I know that might not make people feel any better, but for many, it just might.
Well, when you consider how often people travel, how much air travel there actually is, and yes, we talk about those exceptions. It's very important perspective, Claire, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm doing a tip to the Vancouver Canucks. I didn't wear a jersey, but I wore the blue. So go Canucks.
All right, noted. Thank you, Claire.
Thanks so much.